O Genesis, wherefore art thou Genesis?
And he had a pee.
Now, is that before or after the shower?
Oh, it's a good question. Good question. Now, these are the questions we need.
Not the ones that we deserve?
Ooh, I can make this better. I can make this better. Button. Need a button. Yeah, that's fine. You should come see this. It's beautiful.
Oh, shit. Hold up.
What? Oh, Mary, plenty. Oh, kind day of a check.
Okay, I just had the mother of all roaches skitter across the floor here, and I had to go take care of that.
Ew.
Oh, that was not fun.
Man, I'm so upset I have to break the snake. I'm so proud of it. Where are you?
All right, well, I say we begin. We are crafting a chat.
Get in here, yeah. You're not in here yet. And you'll see the snake. Hurry before he gets in.
Nice. Nice, 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 nice.
Does he have to do more than pee?
Guess so.
See, the buttons were a nice touch for the eyes.
I agree. It's nice. Breaking the snake.
Yeah, we probably should break it. Alright, well, took a screenshot of it, so one, then two. Oh, he was just hidden under there?
Perfect.
That's for the people who get here early.
Yes, the little behind the scenes. Although technically, well, yeah, we're technically not at the official start yet, but
Are we gonna keep it nighttime?
oh, whatever you like.
Kind of dark.
It is kind of dark. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let me see. I can make it time. What about if we do sunset? How's that? It
Good.
does not look like sunset. I gotta be honest with you. Oh, it is. It's definitely sunset outside. Alright, well. Now, when I would picture sunset, now let me start on my stream. Under your richer. Yep, tub. This is. Crafting a chat.
Crafting a chat.
Crafting a chat. Crafting a chat. Crafting a chat. The whitest kid you know theme.
Maybe.
Definitely is. Do 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 We out here, boys. Genesis is somehow early today, but somehow still late.
Well, you know, that just goes to show you, boys and girls, that early is on time is late, and late is you're fired.
Why? Ads on my YouTube. How dare you?
I'm giving it a little bit more as soon as I see 10 o'clock.
What if PowerPoint won't show up? What's going on here? That sound sucks. I'm glad that we're not recording anything, so.
What?
Well, anyway, welcome to, ladies and gentlemen, to Crafting a Chat. I'm Giuseppe Jones, your host for this evening, where we're going to be crafting a little chat for you with our good friends Adam and Genesis. And we'll be talking with you tonight for about, I don't know, an hour or so, maybe two. It all depends on how good we are on the topics. But Adam,
Genesis, are you streaming?
Hang on one second, I am actually.
Either way, but yes, it is, what is it, August the 13th?
Yeah, 13.
10 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and here we are crafting a chat for all of you awesome listeners out there, all of our fans from coast to coast, like butter and toast. Let's begin. Adam, you playing anything good?
No, hold on. Let me switch inputs on my television because I was prepared for this. Because according to my Twitch, Genesis, you're not streaming. But I don't care.
I am streaming.
It doesn't matter. You should watch Giuseppe stream anyways. Twitch is dying. R.I.P. Dr. Disrespect. Everybody gets it.
What?
No, I've been playing Fall Guys. Over the weekend, I got my first 2 crowns. The first of my 2. I
gotta say, you are quite the
about.
master at that game. I'm gonna tell you.
I'm not
quite
gonna
awesome.
lie. I'm okay at it. When I first started playing it with a friend of ours, he's good at like first person shooters and other stuff. I think I found something I'm good at, which is shocking. I never thought I'd be good at like a battle royale type of game, but here we are. Playing that quite a bit. The boys, you two and I jumped into the forest last night. That was fun. We tried doing that some weeks ago, some months ago. I don't know, some period of time
About
ago.
some months ago.
Yeah, it was a couple months, and we did not have fun. And I was like, well, since I already got a trophy, I might as well go for the platinum. So let me play around with the game, learn some stuff about it, and I did. Still, I'm on day 40 of my 100 days trophy. So if anybody's curious from last week,
It's pretty impressive.
I got so much time left. But yeah, no, we played last night. It was a lot of fun. I had to get off. Like, I don't even know. I think we played. I was on till like 1:45 in the morning.
It was pretty.
Then I had to get up. Yeah, I don't know.
Pretty
Did
late.
you guys stay on like much later after that?
We stayed on late.
A little bit. Genesis
all right.
had some fun with the houseboat. Took us on a little bit of a tour of the island.
Oh, nice. Does anybody want to help me with that trophy after this? So I can
We
kill
didn't
one
get
of
a
you
trophy
10
when
times.
the gazebo got built either, so I don't know which trophy you were
You might
talking
have to
about.
do it. You might have to do it in a single player game. After I
okay.
said it, I was like, you might have to do it in a single player game, and then I was like, no, I'm not correcting myself. Doesn't matter. Not being recorded like I am now.
Fair
Never
enough.
happened.
Yeah.
What else have I been playing? I started up Dreams. Played a little bit of that. Had some fun. And then there's Genesis and I tackled some Avengers beta. We'll get into that though.
We will get into
later. Yeah, but been playing. We played 3.5 hours of that. I streamed some of it. We actually played for like 5 hours, and I streamed 3.5 hours. So you can check it out if you're watching on my channel. It started too late, but yeah, that's it. What about you, Giuseppe?
Me?
You're
Well,
going next. Yeah.
well, we're gonna change.
Episode
We
2,
are
Twist.
changing it
Yeah.
up. I love it. Well, nothing beyond what you've mentioned. Again, a little bit of Fall Guys, a little bit of the forests. I have also definitely been getting a little bit more into Battlefront 2, only because I believe my time with NBA 2K20 is just about all wrapped up. because I was a little bit miffed over the fact that sport games don't actually have a trophy achievement tied to actually winning the championship in a sports game, regardless of whether you're using like a created player that you're doing a My Career mode through, or a My Franchise mode, or you're just playing the game because you like a certain team and you want to play through a season. And the way that I would look at sport games is that winning the championship in a season, in a full season that you play, or whether it's partially simulated or or totally simulated, or you play every single minute of every single game, I would figure that that is the official quote-unquote beating of that kind of a game, thereby kind of necessitating some kind of a trophy achievement for having done so. But as it pertains to the 2K series, that isn't really a thing. In fact, it hasn't really been a thing for a number of years. I had to go back. I went to PS3, PS4trophies.org just to see if any of the recent 2K series actually gave you a trophy achievement for actually winning the championship, and they don't. That's not a thing that those games celebrate. What they do celebrate is taking all your money with microtransactions and buy packs for our ultimate teams, or for whatever the 2K equivalent is, the My Team mode. So that's very disappointing. As a result, I'm definitely going to put that down, probably not visit it again, and just get more into some somewhat decent Star Wars shooting pew-pew-pews, and that's all I have to say about that. I have been playing a little bit more of the heroes versus villains mode in an attempt to level up those characters outside of like the regular supremacy mode, which basically you have to be first to 4,000 battle points really quick so you can select one of the hero characters, so that you can basically just hoard them for the rest of the half-hour match or however long it takes, because they very rarely come up for selection once the best players in those matches pick, oh well, looks like somebody got Vader, and nobody's going to give him up until basically the end of the match. So and that's basically what I've been playing. Genesis, you're up.
I've been playing, as Adam said earlier, Fall Guys and The Forest as of last night. The Forest was actually a lot of fun once Adam actually showed us what to do. Giuseppe and I had a fun time after you left with the boat. But I think the three of us on there together are just a lot of fun once we know what we're doing. Because when we don't, it's not a lot of fun at all.
It's a good co-op game to play when at least one person can direct the traffic and say, hey, this is what we're doing.
Not just running around in the streets and running in the cars,
Like Minecraft.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Minecraft, though, I will say this: Minecraft is much more intuitive. Like, yes, it took me a while to pick up on like all the controls and whatnot, but once you do, it's much more intuitive than the Forest. The Forest, it seems you have to jump through a whole lot of hoops in order to do the most simplest of tasks. So
you have to jump through hoops, but it's like playing a co-op game when you're jumping through those hoops.
You gotta jump through fire-burning hoops that you don't get a reward for at the end of it.
But we have fun.
Yes, that is the most important part.
That's the purpose. That's the purpose.
Which we also played the Avengers beta, which again we'll get to opinions later, but it's the most important thing is that we had fun out of the Avengers beta. And then I think other than that, I think I already mentioned I've been playing Ghost. Haven't touched COD, even though the season 5 came out. I think I played one match of it maybe like a week ago, and I think that was it. I didn't go back to it. I was like, I don't really want to play now.
Is it getting?
Are you in Ghost?
I believe I'm still in the first act, but I'm making progress. I just keep getting sidetracked with all the side quests. Like, I have a lot of the armor pieces. I have a lot of the... I'm sorry, not armor pieces, outfits. I have a lot of the swords now. I've uncovered most of the first area of the map now. Just maybe the top left corner is left to uncover. That's I've gotten pretty far in a lot of the side quests.
And regarding Warzone, has that been getting any better? Are you enjoying it any more, less?
So I don't play Warzone unless I actually have like a trio or a quad, because a duo is just way too difficult to play Warzone with. From what I understand, the stadium now being blown up in Warzone is not, it's not as impactful as most people would have thought, but it is a ground for them to kind of, if the circle is going to pull you in that direction, yeah, you generally go in that direction. But I like the little hidden things though they're doing in Warzone. So like in order to unlock secret rooms in Warzone, you need to be able to survey your surroundings and like go to a computer, look at a blue screen, check the numbers on it, and if you have the correct set of numbers, you go to a door, you unlock it. I think like little elements of like, what's the word I'm looking for? Not RPG, but like little those like loot elements in it. That hey, if you pay attention enough and you do this and that, and you can get behind a secret door that gives you 3 golden chests that you're able to open up. But so far, you know, COD's been the Warzone thing. I think I have not experienced enough because I haven't been on with a trio or a quad.
So,
Fair enough.
You said quad, and I totally got distracted. I'm like, I wonder why it didn't say squad. Then I googled it, and the squad is 6 to 10. So that doesn't make any sense.
There you go.
I'm confused. That I will think about until next week.
So let's go ahead and move on to our very first topic, as it were. The Avengers, the Marvel's Avengers game, the beta that came out recently. Somewhat anticipated title, but the details that have come out about that game recently, also including the results of this beta, seem to be a little less exciting. Not having played the beta myself, I'll have to rely on Adam and Genesis for their opinions on this, but I have viewed some gameplay footage and have drawn a couple of opinions and observations. So, gentlemen, what do you have to say about the Avengers game beta?
If it's all right with you, Genesis, I would like to start with just a very simple thing to kind of build off the show from last week. If you feel bad about missing out on Spider-Man, you're gonna be okay. You're gonna be okay. Genesis, you can start.
Like that's the first thing you said. Yeah, if you felt bad about missing on Spider-Man, it's okay. We got Miles Morales coming on PS5. You can get a proper taste when you buy that and buy a PS5. That's basically how we're gonna go.
Or the PS4, but yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
No, that's not coming on PS. Oh yeah, I see what you mean. Never mind. So my first impressions on that, and just my opinion overall. The only characters I prefer to play as is literally Iron Man and maybe Cap.
Do you want to go through like how the beta is set up, like on the bridge, like?
Yeah. So the beta starts you off in I think what is actually the first maybe hour of the game. Even if it is that, I think it's maybe like 45 minutes of the game. The first 45 minutes.
It jumps a lot because that transition between the bridge thing and then the Kamala and Hulk mission, there's that weird jump. They don't meet for a while, I would imagine, because she has to first discover AIM and all they're doing.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, that's definitely a jump there. So it might all take place within the first hour, but that bridge section starts off with what, Thor, right?
Yeah, it starts off with Thor, then you kind of go into the Hulk. Then you go, you go Thor, then you go Iron Man, then you go Hulk, then you go Cap, and Black Widow is I guess they say the best for last against the boss fight with Taskmaster. Mm-hmm. But the whole single player portion of that was not really as amazing or fun as I thought it was going to be. So I initially I picked it up. I'm like, oh, this feels cool. And kind of go through with Thor. Thor, his if I make a good comparison between Thor and let's say Kratos from God of War, when you throw his hammer, it just doesn't feel as satisfying when it hits someone and you call it back to you. There's just there's no weight behind any of the hammer throws. His hits, on the other hand, a little bit weighty. They're okay, but I think they should have a little bit more power in them. I mean, we're talking about the God of Thunder. He should be able to hit these guys and they go flying. And the enemy type is not anything special. They're dudes in SWAT outfits.
Generic.
I mean, yeah, they got
like robots.
Yeah, they got a couple of they got a couple of energy weapons and things like that. There's a couple of them I think fly. But I mean, for the most part, they look like they're dudes in SWAT outfits. The premise for the game looks fine. It looks okay. But when you pass the Thor segment and you get into Hulk, I think that's when you'll kind of realize that there might be actually something off about this, where Hulk's running cycle is just not that great. His when you hit people, you're not hitting them as the Hulk. You're hitting them as Bruce Banner. It looks like, because they don't go flying. They don't hit the wall. They don't. It takes more than, I would say, maybe even a few hits, to several hits to actually kill a couple enemies. When you're playing as the Hulk, you should be able to Hulk. You know, you punch it through a wall.
I understand why you don't, because you got to balance it. And
I get that, but that would set it apart, you know? That would set the Hulk,
I still feel like my hits are way more powerful than Black Widow's punches and kicks.
Well,
even though
we'll
they're
get to...
probably doing the same amount of damage, I still think the Hulk's is more powerful. But I agree with your word off, because the game just feels off.
The game feels terribly off.
Yeah, it's not tight, like you were saying with the Kratos comparison with the axe and the Mjolnir. Like when you throw Mjolnir and then it comes back to you, like it doesn't have that hit that God of War had. Also, the sound isn't there. I think if they worked on the sound, it would already be like 10 times better. Mm-hmm. But it's just everything is off. The characters' faces. I don't care if they don't look like MCU, but they just look like not real people. It just looks off. It's way better than what they originally showed.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. They definitely fixed a couple things with what they originally showed. But I think, well, I know you don't care if they look like MCU, but I think if they did look like MCU, I think it would be a little better. Although it depends on what their faces look like, because in video games, if they don't get the faces right and they're trying to make it look like something and it doesn't look like something, it's not going to look good at all. And you'll be like, well, just give me a different face altogether, because I don't want to see that. Now it's reminding me of MCU.
Yeah, I'm glad it's not MCU, because MCU has its own story. I don't need to play a game like Spider-Man PS4. We always come back to it seems now, as a running thing now. But
it's a great game.
I'm glad. Yeah, I'm glad it's not Tom Holland or even Andrew Garfield or Tobey Maguire. I'm glad it's none of those people. I'm glad they went their own direction.
If anything that we do need less. We're talking about, like, you know, video games that have been adapted into films. I think we definitely do need less, if ever again, any films brought into video games. Those have definitely not been the best. You should keep. There's plenty of juice in the IP for Spider-Man, for Avengers, to just do your own self-contained, self-standing story mode. You know what I mean? Like, just do your own thing. Discover a new angle or something. But just don't repackage what we already have seen. That we don't need in the form of a game like that. Like it might seem interesting to people at least at face value, to go ahead and play the game version of the MCU starting at Iron Man 1. It would be an interesting way to kind of like revisit that storyline from the beginning. But then you know all the story beats, and if the intent of that project is to basically recreate the MCU in game form, then there's going to be no surprise. There's going to be no big reveal. There's going to be no twist to the gameplay, because you already know what to expect. So I'm glad that they are trying to do something new, regardless of how good.
How well it's executed.
Yeah, exactly.
It would be a cool idea if they're doing the MCU. What if they made an MCU type of game, and you can follow the path to go through the original storyline, but what if it had like branching storylines that would change depending on what choice you made? So like in certain movies, like I know, let's say for example in Iron Man 1, he never ended up building the suit, and somebody else did something, or it like just the entire chain of events change, and by the end of it you have a completely different ending and a completely different storyline versus then the actual MCU storyline. Like,
so what
the actual story would be there.
So what you're talking about is something that is incredibly ambitious. I would go so far as to say that it's so ambitious that it's probably that kind of idea has never actually come across the desk of any significant developer or publisher, because
call it ambitious.
Yeah, it's just far too.
I would
it's
call
far
it
too
not
ambitious.
Well thought out. Because if you think about it for 1 second, if you change Iron Man, the whole MCU changes. So there's no point in even following the MCU.
Well, I think Genesis is referring to something maybe not so drastic. Perhaps
Maybe I
something.
used a bad example.
Well, actually, I think. Well, I think
You did.
I understood what you were saying. I think you were trying to lean a little bit towards like the Mass Effect kind of angle in terms of like
Pretty
the
much.
player's choice affecting the story in smaller ways, which is definitely possible. But then look at the execution of the Mass Effect trilogy, and we're just going to ignore Andromeda.
No, we're not getting in there.
But we're just saying, just generally speaking, the whole concept of player choice was a very minuscule aspect of the whole thing overall when it was all said and done. You know, all of your choices kind of like just boiled down to 3 different shades of light show at the end of the mega space battle. It would have been nice to see player choice impact the story in a more significant way, you know, other than determining which one of your squad mates lives or dies. It would have been better to have like more significant. For instance, instead of fighting, you know, Hydra at the end of an Avengers game, you wind up having to face off against the Sinister Six, for instance, because of some other player choice that you have along the way. You know what I mean? I mean, that would be a little bit more significant, but because like that idea is just so ambitious, and even for a trilogy that was dedicated to player choice impacting the narrative in what they claimed was a significant way, even then, you know, you could definitely make the argument against them for having, you know, executed it the way that they did. You know, they, at the end of the day, they had one narrative to tell, and all of your choices were funneled in that direction regardless. You'd have to start a project with the intent of having every single one of your end results be as satisfying as like the de facto ending. And that is something that we've not seen in game development, and we may not very well ever see something like that, because the process it continues to streamline amongst the AAA developers and publishers. We're not seeing as much innovation with bigger titles and bigger productions. I think perhaps maybe the Marvel Avengers game is a good example of that. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I mean, so as far as they're going, Square Enix and Crystal Dynamics are going about it. I mean, they've already said that, yeah, they want to expand on the game. They want to add all these things to the game. I don't think it's ever going to go something as ambitious as that. The way that the game is now, I think if it was like a free-to-play title, I'd be more inclined to play it than if it was a $60 game that is going to come with, you know, the base game. And I think they did say that they're not going to charge for any other additional content that comes out. It'll all be free updates.
There's got to be some kind of gate to it, though. They're just, I don't know.
Cosmetics, probably.
Yeah, cosmetic. Yeah, probably microtransaction and cosmetic things like that, but nothing that enhances your gameplay itself.
I don't know. I just also have a sneaking suspicion that they're gonna find a way to gate the actual new characters as well. I mean, in some fashion.
Well, they said that their new characters are going to be free, but they didn't say forever. They just said
it could be a timed thing.
Yeah,
it could be a
which is
thing.
fine, because if anybody's playing this game in a year, I'll be shocked.
Well, yeah, they'd have to do a severe overhaul to the game in order to get a completely different opinion about it.
So you guys bring up a very, very valid point. So this game is meant to be a live service game, in addition to whatever you're getting with the base game at the $60. And if I'm not mistaken, is there also going to be a deluxe edition for like $80 or something like that?
There's a $200 edition that has like a bunch of physical stuff, and I think there's a $90 edition for the deluxe.
That doesn't surprise me at all. That's pretty standard fare for AAA these days. So,
get the money when you can.
What do you guys feel about the live service aspect of it? You can tell it's already got the whole the different kind of product tie-in placement stuff. There's different skins you get for Verizon customers, 5 Gum, Intel customers, T-Mobile. They're getting different skins and whatnot. Maybe not T-Mobile, but I do know that those other companies apparently
it's Verizon and you were correct. It's Verizon and Five Gum. Yeah, they have specific
I
skins.
did not hear any of this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Verizon has their own skin for Avengers. If you have the Verizon Up programs, what they call it, it's a reward system. So you pay your bill and you get points every time to put into the system. And if you have enough
Sweet,
points, you can redeem it. Oh, that's fantastic. And you would get points to get it. It's like they showed the screenshot of what they all look like. They're red and white outfits. They look kind of like
that's cool.
Endgame outfits, but they're not. They're not exactly that.
They're different, but it's for instance, it's not like the difference of seeing like Captain America in his classic Stars and Stripes versus the Shield costume versus like a Hydra agent costume. Like those would be really cool costume alterations. These are just different, color shaded.
Palettes.
Yeah, color
That's
palettes.
it. Yeah, they're just color palettes that are different.
Yeah, I mean, if they want, go ahead. Cool, it's fine, I guess.
But that's just dumb to me.
I've
It
never
seems
mind.
like
I've
irrelevant.
never mind product placement in a game. I always think of Burnout Paradise with having
Oh god,
billboards.
that had so much product placement.
But I was okay with it because I just felt like I was driving around a city and I was like, this is product placement for something.
Yeah, another game that did that was Midnight Club LA.
Los Angeles. Yeah.
Yep, they did a lot of that. Gap, I think Sprint and T-Mobile were in there. That was
Yeah.
crazy.
I'm fine with that stuff popping up. As long as it's not like in the loading screens and then they're talking in the game like, this race is brought
So
to you by Gatorade.
So here's another question. So if the Marvel's Avengers game is meant to be one of those looter shooter type live service games, how does the whole loot concept work with the Avengers? Like for instance, Iron Man's always going to be in an Iron Man suit. Hulk is always going to be bashing with fists and feet. Black Widow is going to be using her baton and the Widow stun. Like these characters are not going to be swapping out different loot. They'll be calling them different types of loot, like Hawkeye's, iridium bow versus an adamantium bow, for instance, whatever. But it will still be the same. Unlike games like even Destiny, like the different guns that you get, they do deliver different feels and different effects to the shooting. And they're all guns, but they are different. So it gives a little bit of gameplay diversity there with the loot. I don't understand how they'd be able to deliver gameplay diversity with the loot that's happening in the Avengers game.
I would say there is diversity. What you're describing is there's two types of loot in the Avengers game. There's the cosmetic stuff where you get your classic outfits or like classic laser beams or different. You get all different things, but also you equip gear that changes your stats, and that doesn't have any effect cosmetically. Like you'll find pin particle like wristbands, and you'll put them on. You don't see them on your character, but it's like it'll change like a couple things on your character. Like it'll change some stats, but it's mostly cosmetic stuff. In regards to looter shooters, I don't care for them. I don't care about live service games. Going into this, I think I mentioned last week on here that I was skeptical, and then when we played it, my skepticism, I really thought it was going to be turned around. That last War Table we watched, that was good, and I was like, yeah, I'm down for this. And this game just doesn't feel right. The characters just don't control all that well. We didn't even finish explaining the bridge.
To just sum up the bridge, I mean, the final part of the bridge was basically Black Widow, and I don't know, it seems like the opinion of the internet is, they liked it, but I don't understand how you could like that. It was a very repetitive, boring boss battle that you are completely outmatched in that, first of all, in that boss battle. Black Widow doesn't have any weight behind meaning like she's got no weight behind her punches whatsoever. She punched, she felt lighter than everybody else, but that makes sense. But also, she used guns and like other things. Like guns barely.
It was literally guns. Yeah, barely do anything. But it was literally dodge this, dodge that way, hit, dodge this way, dodge that way, hit, and it felt like it was that. And it's disappointing when something feels like it's that. It also went on for a long time. It went on for so long. I was like, am I doing something wrong? And then I was like, oh no, this is what I have to do. But yeah, I mostly played as the Hulk throughout the demo, especially when we got into the team
war
up
tables.
stuff. Yeah, when we got there, I mostly played as the Hulk. I think the only character that actually felt right was Miss Marvel, Kamala. I honestly think the game was built around her, which makes sense, and I would rather have just a game about her. But every other aspect, it felt like I was playing like a Lego game. Like, it just felt like, as Iron Man, you can fly, but the stages are so small, and you could fly, 50 feet off the ground? And you could basically hover? Like, it's cool.
Yeah.
And I know, Genesis, you played way more Iron Man than I did. And by way
Yeah,
more,
yeah.
a couple
That was
hours
my
more.
main. That was the main one I played anyway. Iron Man was the main guy I played. That was the one I was waiting to play because I was kind of excited to play him. Obviously, because I didn't particularly care for Hulk's segment, and nor did I care for Black Widow's or even Kamala's segment. I'd rather play as either Cap or Iron Man or even Thor. But for some reason, Thor is not available to play in the beta. Except for that one level.
That's fine. I'm fine with the characters they gave us, because I feel like it's like, okay, Kamala, she controls the best, and she stretches, she's all right. She's kind of like a mix of Hulk and a little bit of Thor, because like her arms are basically hammers, except they come back to you. Like, that's what her fist is. It feels almost the exact same. Except it just feels a little bit better. And then you get Black Widow, you get Hulk, and you get Iron Man. And I chose Hulk because he's just a big dude who breaks stuff, and I was like, cool. Also, my second favorite superhero ever, first being Batman. What up? Hit me up, DC, for anything.
You want me to direct next Batman Begins? I got it. Just give it to me.
Direct the next Batman Begins. It came out in 2008. It's called The Dark Knight. Get out of here. We had fun. I cannot get that point across enough. We had fun. If I never play it again, I will be okay.
Yeah,
also,
fun,
the beta
fun
is
with
only
a definite
available
cap.
on Friday through Sunday for like 3 weeks. That makes no sense. I don't understand when betas started to do that. I've been out of the beta game for a while, I guess.
Well, because you know what? There's
got to be different. There's more betas that have done that.
Well, it's because betas are not really betas anymore. They're there to tease pre-orders. You know, it's just another carrot to tease.
Fall Guys had a beta, and that was just testing it. It wasn't there to tease pre-orders.
Yeah, but I mean, like, if they were
beta.
really interested in really maximizing the amount of data capture they can to actually deliver a more streamlined experience, they wouldn't have those kind of limitations. I mean, like, I just don't understand that either. But honestly, I don't know. I think I see in the Avengers game, from the footage that I saw, in the comments of both you, Adam, and you, Genesis, that it's a forgettable title with such a strong IP, and that's kind of a shame. But this is the thing: the whole concept of really maximizing on major IPs, at least from the comic book industry, in games, that's not been a reliable thing historically. Only recently, with Spider-Man for PS4 and the Arkham series featuring Batman, the superheroes don't really get really fantastic video games historically, and that's odd that they do, or that they don't. I'm just curious as to why that is, but perhaps that could be a subject for another time.
Yeah, definitely. We'll talk about stuff after that Suicide Squad game is shown. And by the rumors going around with it, it seems like it's going to be like the Avengers game. And that hurts me a little bit on the inside, except you only play as villains. So,
hey, you know what, though?
We'll see. August 22nd. We'll see. DC, again, hit me up.
The one thing that does seem interesting about that Suicide Squad game, is that if it is, in fact, all about hunting Superman, it introduces an interesting concept to the comic book video game format. What if we remove trash mobs altogether and have the heroes fight against actual singular marquee villains. Forget the trash
Boss
mob
battles.
rule and have boss battle. Right. In a way that more, I would feel, I believe, closely mirrors the actual conflicts in the comic books themselves. I mean, every once in a while, Spider-Man will have to go and, beat up a whole, gang of
Hooligans.
yeah,
Ruffians.
whatever. Yeah, and but that's not the regular thing. It's usually him facing off against Doc Ock or Green Goblin or Venom. You know what I mean? Like on a mano situation. Because, and that is the situation for many comic book characters and their storylines. What if games were to simply discard the concept of trash mobs, and perhaps that could even translate into films too? Because I'm sick and tired of sending the Avengers against CG mobs
Yeah.
to show how awesome they are, because the marquee villains are right around the corner, and they can
Genesis-
stand toe to toe with them.
Yeah, Genesis talked about the villains in this game. This is a small section of the game, and we saw soldiers, but we also saw robots, and there were at least 5 different types of each. So I kind of disagree with the villain types. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it didn't really matter. All you got to do is square, square, triangle, and you got them. But there were different, like, in looks, there were different enemies. So.
I saw. So to clarify the point, I didn't mean that there were very little types. I just meant that. So the robots, I understand, but the guys who we were fighting, the SWAT-looking guys, when I'm playing as Thor, or I'm playing as Iron Man, or I'm playing as Hulk, and I'm hitting these guys, they just, I feel like they're on par with me, is what I mean by that.
They have
Like,
shields.
I understand that, but like,
Special.
and I understand they have to be able to balance the game. You can't just go around and OP everything and one shot everything. That wouldn't be fun at all either. I understand that. That would be more of like a what is that? A Dynasty Warriors type of game where you're just you're mob farming at that point. And you're just killing it in one shot. But my thing was that it should just be a little bit more dynamic in the terms of character. So like, okay, Iron Man and Cap, you got a couple of fist fights with them, with the enemies and enemy types and all that. But if you're playing as the Hulk, your disadvantage should be mobility, and not mobility meaning jumping, but like because you're so big, it's harder to turn around and things like that. And your speed, which I know Hulk can run pretty fast because he's big, but that should be your disadvantages, when your advantages should be power and being able to overpower all the other mobs.
Well, and that's
more like a tank. He's slower than everybody else.
Huh?
So Hulk is slower than everybody else in that game.
Yeah, but it's like you play as the Hulk and then you go to play as Thor. The only difference between the two is I can throw a hammer with one, and the other one I can pick dudes up and throw them.
Well, Thor can fly
throw
too, right?
rocks as Hulk. Yeah, and you can fly with Thor. You can throw rocks. Every character has the same basic moveset. Like Thor throws his hammer, Hulk picks up a rock out of the ground or a bigger rock out of the ground.
Right.
And Kamala, her range attack is her fist stretch.
Mm-hmm.
And then Black Widow's range attack, I think, is just her guns. And Iron Man's is his weapons and lasers. Everyone has a range attack, everyone has like a light attack, and everyone has a heavy attack.
They're
Well, this
just
is the-
not dynamic enough.
and
though.
It's not different enough.
Well, this
It
is what I'm
just
saying.
doesn't feel right.
So, again, to address Genesis' concerns about the whole balancing, the scaling, and the whole why should these trash mobs be on par with any of the Avengers, that leads me back to the whole, well, why do we need trash mobs at all? Why can't the levels be in pursuit of marquee supervillains that are, in fact, on par, and have, like, the level be either a one-on-one or a group team brawl situation, or a dynamic chase situation where you have to pursue them across the bridge and try to prevent the destruction of the bridge while you pursue them. Would that not be a more dynamic
need a lot
kind of
of villains
gameplay?
for that. That's one.
Yeah,
Well,
I
guess
think that
what?
would be,
There
if
are.
we're all against
It's
one
very
villain,
possible.
like the one level that we spent the most time in, and oof, we had some fun. I've been meaning to clip part of the stream. because there's one point where these shield dudes keep spawning, and I don't know how many were on screen at one point.
I want to say maybe like 25 to 30 of them were on one.
Yeah, there were a lot. Also, the frame rate took a dive. When you're in the middle of them. Also when Genesis was shooting his laser from up in the sky as Iron Man, I would
down
go
5 frames.
Yeah, in order to get rid of the shields for the guys as the Hulk, you have to hit square, square, and then hold triangle, or just square and then hold triangle. I think it's square, square, hold triangle. I don't know. It's been a week.
You could also just hold triangle, I think, but that was even worse if you just did that.
Well, yeah, you have to like build it up or whatever. But Hulk is slow, so every time I went to go do it, there were like 7 shield dudes around me, and I would just get hit in the back. And we tried it on what's the hardest difficulty?
Challenge. So there's challenge 1, 2, 3, 4, and 4 was the hardest one, which basically puts them like maybe about 10 levels higher than we were.
Yeah, you were like, 2's too easy. Let's go to 4. I'm like, all right. We went to 4, and we were destroyed for like three times in a row. And then when we were going, I would literally be like, I'm down, I'm up, because the AI people are picking me up. And then I'd go, I'm down, I'm up, I'm down, I'm up, literally over and over. This happened for 11 minutes straight of me just going down and up. We were laughing. We were having a great time laughing at how awful that was.
Yeah.
And that's the most fun we've had was with those just random dudes. I'm okay with, like, cannon fodder. I'm completely okay with enemies like that. Because then we got to like a boss section of the game, and it was dumb. Because it was like a giant mechanical spider, I don't even know what it was. And we just had to break like parts of it and punch it out. It was easy, even though we were on the hardest difficulty.
It was the only coordinated thing we actually did in that segment of the beta. I think I remember telling you like that was actually, so I don't mean like it was good, like it was a good boss fight. I mean it's good as in that was like actually the only thing that we didn't have to like die a bunch or try. Yeah, that was like, all right, we know exactly what to do. This is a generic formula. Giant boss, hit this, hit that, comes down, spam him in the face. Hit this, hit that, comes down again, spam him in the face. That was the only well-constructed and actually made sense part of the beta. Everything else...
I don't think it was well-constructed, though.
Meaning in terms of linearity is what I mean.
So I don't think it was well-constructed because it just felt like we were going through, I don't know, the beats. Because that took, 5-10 minutes to take down that thing?
10 minutes.
Yeah, about 10 minutes. I remember taking down like a giant creature like that in Horizon, where it's like you have to shoot it here, you have to shoot it there, but not one time in that did I go, okay, I just have to stand here for a moment and wait until it does its attack. I'm constantly moving, I'm constantly doing stuff. Right. When you're in a game with 3 other people, or just 1 other person and 2 AI, the thing, it can't do all of that. It has to like concentrate in certain areas or just send everything all at once. Mm-hmm. So there were points where Genesis was just flying and shooting at the vents at the top, and I was walk underneath it. I punch the vents behind the legs, and then I move, and then it does a stomp attack. Then I move to the next leg, and then I just move a little bit away, wait till it finishes. You see the giant red area where it's going to hit. It was so by the numbers, but we literally walked up to it, and Genesis and I were like, in our minds, like, we've played video games before, we know what to do. And 10 minutes later, we were done.
Mm-hmm.
I will say though,
it was funny because we were getting destroyed, and
this is mobs. Why are we dying?
But the thing is, I don't think it would be like I'd be like, hey, see you next week to do this. No, I mean we'll play more of the beta to try to see if there's a little bit more. And there's a secret mission you texted me about. I don't know.
Yes, there's a secret mission on that. There's a secret mission we can unlock apparently.
Yeah, I hope there's not a lot of work to that, but
I think there is, but
I mean, we'll have time. We'll have time.
The thing I'll say though is that boss battle was the closest thing that I felt to actually being like playing that, like a couple of the fight scenes from the Avengers movies where they're all working together to take one dude down. Because all I remember was I'm literally flying circles around this guy, shooting him with lasers, and I just see you in the bottom, like doing your thing, punching his legs out, punching his feet out. if we had two other people, actual people there, like let's say one was Cap and one was Thor, I could see the guy with Thor just summoning lightning down from the sky, hitting the boss, shocking him so I can get the vents easier, and then Cap just trying to chokehold him from the back somehow.
Yeah. So seeing you in the sky was cool, but at the same time, it was more like watching an MCU film is like being in VR. And then playing this game is like watching somebody be in VR. Like, hey, you look like you're having a cool time, but also, this is fine, I guess. Like, it's just it's missing that special sauce. Like, I think it's more of a personal thing for me because I don't care about live service or really multiplayer games as much. But like I had fun like playing with you, Genesis. Like it was a good time, but I would rather play like 7 hours of Minecraft being in separate parts of the map, like doing our own thing, than play any of the Avengers ever again. I would rather do that.
I'm gonna use a point that Giuseppe mentioned earlier with the Destiny comparison. Like Destiny is another one of those live service games where you have these different characters, classes, factions that are all supposed to feel different. They do a good job at actually feeling a fundamentally different from one another. They all look the same. If you look at three Guardians from Destiny, there's the Hunter, there's the Warlock, and then there is the Titan. And they all fundamentally look the same, but they all control so differently and look so differently. And I think that's what gives a live service game like that more appeal to people than something like this would. So like if I pick this up and compare it to Destiny, I would have a lot more fun, a lot more enjoyable of a time in Destiny getting 6 friends together to do a raid than I would getting 4 people together to do a war table mission in this game.
There you go.
Yeah, I didn't play Destiny, so I can't really speak on that. But as much as I know people who play Destiny, there's a reason why people go back to it. I mean, with as many issues as that game has.
Both these games share a lot of issues.
Yeah, I understand why people go back to certain games. I can't think, unless you're a hardcore Marvel fan, or you're just okay with spending a few hours playing a game. Like, this is like a Fall Guys for me. Like, I think Fall Guys is a way better game, which is shocking.
Fall Guys is 10 times better.
Because Fall Guys was made in a small team. No offense to Crystal Dynamics or anything, but Fall Guys it looked cool. I was hesitant. It was free. I played it. I'm having a great time. Avengers, it looked okay. I liked the idea of being an Avenger. I didn't like the live service part. I played it. It was okay. And it's just, I don't know. I cannot explain how meh this game is for me. It is the most meh game I've played in a long time. Like, a really long time.
Mm-hmm.
And I really hope it finds an audience and they improve it. As we were playing at Genesis, you kept saying, like, oh, they could patch this, they could patch that. There's only so much you could patch. That game was built the way it was intended to be built.
Right, yeah. You're not going to see vast improvements at this point. What you've seen already,
You'll see some. Yeah.
But that's basically what you're going to get. So if you don't like anything of what you see, chances are this is just not the game for you, and that's fine. You know what I mean?
You can get vast improvements, and this is going to be look at the segue. You're going to get vast improvements if you decide to delay the game, and let's move it back to a different point and completely overhaul the system.
Speaking of delays, let's have a little. Let's craft another chat, perhaps about a significant delay for the Xbox Series X. In the form of Halo Infinite, no longer a launch title. Maybe sometime in 2021, they say, but we don't know when that is.
More likely late.
Yeah.
Is that the transition you meant for him to go for? Or?
Well, we are talking about delays. And,
okay. All right.
So, Halo Infinite, kind of a big deal for Xbox.
Halo Infinite, though.
When the Halo Infinite coming out, though, baby.
So the question is, how much does that hurt the launch for Series X? Does it matter? How upset should people be? Because Halo is a big deal, and that's one of the reasons why people go for box in the first place. But that's a little bit concerning to lose an anticipated launch title.
Yeah, I can't imagine it was an easy decision for them. Phil Spencer was actually on that Animal Crossing podcast that Gary Whitta hosts.
Okay.
He was on that, and well, he came in as an Animal Crossing character, and it's like a late night talk show. And he talked about he was supposed to be there to just talk about like what he's been doing and like promoting the Series X and all that.
Did you talk about Craig?
I didn't watch it, so he might have. I still have to watch it. I still got to watch the Cyberpunk Night City Wire thing too. We should talk about that eventually too today.
We could do that.
But he was like, there's no way we could release this if we don't feel like it's good enough. And then he said that they talked about releasing it in segments, but then they felt like that wasn't a Halo thing to do. So I'm as much as I hate delays, and as much as I know this is going to hurt the Xbox, as much as I know all that, I'm 100% okay with it being delayed. Like, my opinion on video game delays has changed in the past 10 years since I've matured, I'd like to think. Only really for this. Other than this, I haven't matured at all, especially in height or body type or anything. But this Last of Us... Thank you. I'm here once a week. Last of Us Part 2 was delayed, and I was upset. But I'm okay with video game delays as long as they tell me why it's delayed. And if the game is not delayed for 10 years and it comes out and it's still garbage.
Yeah, but that's the thing.
Like
we don't always...
3, no offense to that game, but...
I 100% agree with you. I love the idea of actually being told a reason. That's not always the case that we find out any kind of reason, let alone being like a legitimate reason. The thought process is, however, is that, you know, with more time goes more, you know, TLC into the development of it to make a better product at launch. That isn't always the case. I mean, it could be...
I can't imagine they're not going to do anything on it. They're just going to
No, I agree with that as well. But, you know, there are also other factors in the decision-making process for these businesses that are at play as well. And it would be nice to have a little bit more clarity regarding the reasoning behind delays, especially for fans that were really anticipating this as part of a brand new platform launch this November, in a year where, quite frankly, you know, the whole world could probably use a little bit more good news than bad.
I wouldn't call this bad news, though.
No, I'm not saying that it's bad news, but you know,
it depends on how you look at it.
It sours it a little bit. It sours it a little bit.
Yes. But the thing is, like, 343 Industries, they gave a reason. They're like, hey, the hard times we live in. As you guys know, we can't say what's going on in the world because, you know, ad revenue, COVID. Because of that, and then they said, and other factors, and it's got to be part of that mixed reaction to the footage that came out. That game clearly has not been, and its development history is no secret. The creative director of the game left it last year, and which is not a good sign. And then there were rumors. Yeah, there were rumors of like the build you just saw just started being built in January, and like there's all that stuff, but that's unsubstantiated as far as I know. But I'm okay with it being delayed. I think it hurts Xbox, but I don't think it hurts them enough where you're still going to buy an Xbox, I would imagine. You're just going to put it on hold for a while.
Or maybe not buy it right away, you know. I honestly...
Yeah, which I don't think you have to.
No, in fact, I would say that you don't have... I don't think anyone has to buy any of the next-gen consoles that are coming out this November at launch. At this point, as far as both stand currently, there is no pressing need to jump right into it right away, unless you just simply want to have it, and that's awesome for you if you do. But there's no pressing need beyond getting the box itself, because neither one of them really are going to give you something that only those boxes can give you that you got to have on day one.
I mean, is there any console launch other than the Switch, because Breath of the Wild, where you have to have it on day one?
Well, it certainly helps. It certainly helps the launch of a platform. Like, for instance,
it does.
You want to turn
was there any?
Well, yeah, there was a little system called N64, and I believe the game was Mario 64. It was the game that dominated so many electronics stores, game demo areas, and Toys R Us and Electronics Boutique when those used to be a thing, and GameStops and what have you. Everybody was getting into that whole 3D gaming genre, and Mario 64 basically ushered in the 3D genre, in a way that was just so accessible and fun to play, and there was so much to it once the game actually launched. I mean, every Nintendo system basically, launches with some kind of Mario title. It's almost expected, and he is their flagship character, and traditionally the Mario games have always delivered consistently great gaming for just about every kind of audience. So yeah, a solid Mario title is always going to launch well with a Nintendo system. I can't remember a Nintendo platform that launched without a Mario game.
Switch.
Was it the Switch?
Yeah, it launched with only Breath of the Wild. It had older Mario games from the Wii U, but it didn't launch with the Mario.
Breath of the Wild is also no slouch, and that's a fantastic game.
Well, no, not at all, but...
Correct me if I'm wrong.
You were saying, yeah, what were you saying?
Did Breath of the Wild also come out on Wii U at the time?
No, I don't think so.
No.
Are you sure?
I am not.
No, I don't think
because it might have. It did. It totally did. You're totally right.
Oh,
so there was no reason to buy a Switch then?
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to,
But I'm just
plus Animal Crossing was eventually coming to it, so yeah.
But it was also available for Switch when Switch launched, though. But it was also available for Switch when Switch launched. Like, Switch didn't have zero titles, is what I'm saying.
The Switch had close to almost zero titles.
We're gonna do some quick research right now. We're gonna do
while you're doing the
while
you're doing the research, we do also have a request from the chat saying if we could discuss Epic Games versus Apple and Google at this point. As of 7 hours ago, Apple and Google have pulled Fortnite from both the Apple Store and the Google Play Store.
Really?
Who the hell is requesting this?
One of the people in chat.
Who?
Meon with a 1.
Who is that? Do we know who that is?
No.
Okay, Meon with a 1. Let me tell you. If you're playing Fortnite on a phone, quit. Okay, Fortnite, Epic Games planned this whole thing. And they were like, hey, we're going to put it on the Apple Store, and we're going to basically update our app so it costs less to purchase stuff, and it's going to violate the Apple terms of agreement. So Apple removed them. Then Epic Games released, 1984 parody commercial of the Apple commercial, except they made fun of it in Fortnite, and then they put it in the game Fortnite, and then a couple hours later it was removed from the Play Store for the exact same thing. And now Epic Games is asking everybody to help them in their fight against Apple because Apple has become the monopoly that people hate. I get what they're doing, but at the same time, if you're playing it on a phone, stop it. Neon, I swear to the epic gods, stop. You shouldn't play games on a phone. If you want to, great. I know if you're playing, it's probably not like this is where I go to play. Who cares? Apple is garbage. Phones are garbage. Just get rid of it. No, all phones are garbage. All phones are garbage. They control their app stores, and I understand why they do it. and I understand why they want a piece of that. But
Sure.
that's how it is. If you
That
want
is
to
how
call it
it
a
is.
monopoly, yeah, it is a monopoly.
Yeah.
Who
For
cares?
clarification, he does not play it on mobile. He just wants to see what our thoughts were about the lawsuit and the outcome.
Oh, I think it's a very challenging time for Epic Games and Apple, and I hope both billion-dollar companies come out okay.
Oh my God. Yeah.
What do you want from us?
Yeah.
Man,
That's.
by the way, man, you're my favorite person now because you don't play it on Apple. But also, why do you want our opinion on that? Like, what's going on with you? Are you okay? Do you need to talk? There's a hotline number you might want to reach out to. Just throwing that out
Hey
there.
man, there's a lot of people out there that are highly vested in the outcome and well-being of some of these mega billion-dollar companies. Okay, you know they
Let me-
represent brands that people know and love, and they just don't want them to fall on hard times like real people. So
Let me tell you something though. Let me tell you something. A good billion-dollar company at AT&T and Warner Brothers. DC, hit me up. Hit me up, DC. I
Not.
will sell
Not.
my soul and body.
Well, that's all right, because guess what? It appears that AT&T and the Warner Media Group are definitely buying low, so they may be calling.
Yeah, they are. That's
They may
exciting.
be. Hey,
But in all seriousness, I don't really have an opinion on the Fortnite thing. It's clearly something that they were planning, and there might be a court case about it. We'll talk about it in 4 years. When
Isn't
that's
this
settled,
just another?
and nothing changes?
Isn't it just another example of Epic Games just being Epic Games? Just more.
I have
Yeah,
a
that's-
feeling
yeah.
It's just Epic
Yeah,
Games trying to be
The CEO, like Tim Sweeney, he fights Apple all the time.
Right.
He's so mad at Apple. He hates them. I don't think he expected the Google Play Store to do that to him as
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
because that had to be a shock. I don't think they prepared any classic Google ads. What are they going to do? That one Google ad where that old guy's like trying to remember his wife?
Well, it's odd that
Commercial.
that
Everybody
Google
remember that?
decides that they want to do that just because they are honestly an open platform for almost anybody to do whatever they want on. So like people pull their stuff all the time and update their games and things like that on Google Play. I don't know if it's a complete retaliation because it's mobile gaming in general that maybe they don't want to do, or they I don't know, they not don't want to do, but they're up against. So they're like, oh, okay, well, if they remove it off of Apple, let's do it as well to kind of prove a point. I don't know otherwise what Google would have a reason to do that for.
Also,
They just, if you want to sell stuff on their store, just pay them. I know it's going to increase the price, but that's how it works.
that
You're
is how it
renting
works.
the phone. I'm sorry. I know
So also,
it's a software thing, but whatever.
really quick, revisiting the whole Nintendo Switch launch day, that would be 1-2 Switch, Breath of the Wild, Skylanders, Imaginators, Just Dance 2017, Super Bomberman R, I Am Setsuna, World of Goo, Little Inferno, Human Resource Machine, Snipper Clips, Fast RMX, Shovel Knight Spectre of Torment, and Shovel Knight Treasure Trove. Those were the launch
That
titles.
was their launch titles.
So Zelda
Yes.
is what you
So
said.
Zelda
And then
is what I'm saying.
And then you kind of cut out for everything else because it's nothing.
Yeah, all that stuff, other stuff is nothing. But in lieu of a Mario title, an open world Zelda for the first time, that is a system seller. And that
Oh.
that type of title currently does not exist for either the PS5 or Series X, as
Miles Morales.
it stands right now.
Miles Morales system seller for PS5.
That's going to be available on launch day.
That is launch. That is a launch
Yeah,
title.
they said that's launch.
That is a
And-
launch
but it's
title.
Again,
also
we don't- we don't
also
have
available on
dates.
PS4.
no.
So yeah, but
PlayStation
so was
5.
Breath of the Wild on Wii U. So
Okay,
again,
well,
like
But again,
launch
I will
lineups
say
are never good, and you never need the console when it first comes out. You never ever need it.
yeah.
The
well,
thing that sells the console.
I would like to
and
see
when-
them
when-
change that.
I don't think they're
I-
gonna, because the
I
thing
would
that
too.
sells the consoles is what they want to show to sell them. Basically, okay, you got launch titles, good. You got the new features it can do, the UI, all the improvements, why you should get it, and that's basically why people line up to buy the console.
So hopes and dreams is what you're saying. They're selling people on hopes and dreams.
But, yeah,
the
the
promise of a better
hardcore-
tomorrow.
Yeah, the hardcore buy the console, and then when games eventually come to it, then they sell those games, and then people buy the console. No, I can't ever understand why somebody. I still don't understand the idea of a system seller, because I would say, like, yeah, there's good games on PlayStation, but I wouldn't buy a PlayStation for one game. Like, it just doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't. But whether the system, the quote unquote, the system seller comes sooner or later, at some point people are going to want reasons to invest in the box. Otherwise, honestly, I would still probably say, generally speaking, if somebody wanted to get into gaming as a good hobby, but they really wanted to make an investment, and making yourself a good gaming PC rig will get you access to a very large, wide variety of stuff, and you'll be able to play it in optimum settings. Going consoles, only if those exclusive titles are what really draws you to it. And that's one of the reasons why I'm still a PlayStation gamer, because number one, I'm poor, but also number two, I really like Sony's exclusive games. Almost all of them do appeal to me in some way. Not all of them. Some of them have been duds. I'm not gonna lie. They're not all perfect. Not by a long stretch.
Dare you?
But a large number of them are really, really good, and you can only play them on PlayStation. And that is what makes the console wars. You know what I mean? Otherwise, between box and PC, I mean, it's the same. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to have an Xbox if you have a good gaming PC.
You don't need to have an Xbox.
I need to correct myself, because there is a system seller, and that's why everybody bought a PlayStation 4. It's NAC. Sorry, guys, I didn't mean to do that.
NAC
I didn't mean to lie to everybody. I didn't mean to lie to everybody.
Well, hang on a minute. Wait a minute. Now we have a system seller on PlayStation 5, and it's going to be Bugsnax, not, Miles Morales. It's
Bugsnax is a 2021 game, so...
Well, Miles Morales is not going to be a needed system seller, because I'm sure it will operate and perform better on the PS5 hardware, but it will be available for PS4, and I feel like especially in this year...
It's not available for PS4.
It's not going to be available for PS4.
We don't know, because mixed information has come out about
I'm going to fact check this right now.
No, they haven't confirmed that it won't be on PS4. There's also a rumor that it comes with remastered Spider-Man 2018 on the PS5. Like, we don't know anything about it. We know it's a launch game, but they also haven't confirmed a date, because the console hasn't confirmed a date. So we don't know if it's like launch adjacent. We don't know anything about it.
Wait a minute. Hold on a minute. Wait a minute. First of all, I need to correct your information. Where are you reading the rumors that there's going to be for PS4 as well?
I haven't read any rumors about that.
Whatever I've read here is there's no conflicting information. This is built for the PlayStation 5. It's ray tracing, 4K, 60 frames per second for PlayStation 5.
The reason I thought that initially was not based on any kind of rumor is because when it was revealed...
not Giuseppe, not towards you. I'm taking Adam's statement. He said, we don't know because there's been conflicting information.
Well, I don't know.
I'm reading, and there's no conflicting information.
Well, the reason I brought that up is because when that game was revealed, it looked like an expansion to Spider-Man on PS4. It doesn't look next-gen, although, again, the difference between this current console generation and the next console generation, you're not going to see any kind of like quantum leap forward in graphic fidelity. I mean, I don't care.
And it's not about graphic fidelity this gen, though. It's all about the speed and the SSDs this generation.
And that's fine, but the proof is in the execution. I need to see it to believe it.
We've already seen a couple of examples, though.
Well, I need to see it for myself with my own software and my own hardware, and actually seeing it function in real time, as opposed to what's being presented to me from perhaps higher end PCs. They don't have any motivation to be honest with consumers at that time. They want to put their best foot forward, and that's why higher end rigs are set up to make a good show. I want to see it actually for myself. Seeing is believing, not being told. So we'll see. But from what I saw from Miles Morales is that it looks like a PS4 game, and I guarantee you it probably wouldn't be a big problem for them to convert it to PS4. Probably wouldn't be.
The only thing the reason I say that is they haven't said that it's not coming to PS4. They said it's made for PS5, and Sony has also said that they're done making PS4 exclusives.
Yeah.
But it's not a full title, so it wouldn't be a full exclusive. It wouldn't be it wouldn't be categorized as that. I would not be shocked.
It's literally an Uncharted Lost Legacy though. It's a spin-off title. It's not a sequel, and it's not an expansion.
But again, I know that. But again, they have not said this is only for PS5. They said
those
this
words
is
weren't
made for PS5.
specifically.
You have to with them. You have to be very, very, very specific. I wouldn't be shocked if it's only PS5. But at the same time, it doesn't make sense to build up an audience for PS4 and then be like, hey, we have a new generation, come to this, or you don't get to play Spider-Man. Like, I think if they want that to be their system seller, that's messed up in so many ways. Because it does mostly just look like a PS4 game. And if it's in the same city but in winter, like how could it not be on PS4? I can't imagine that it would be difficult to have that played on PS4. I can't imagine.
Me neither.
I don't think it's a problem to put it on PS4, but it's being made for the PlayStation 5, and they've said no, it's not coming to PS4. It's more exclusively PS5.
Yeah, during the State of Play, that Kena Bridge of Spirits is being made for the PS5. It just talked about that the PS4.
That
PS5
one was confirmed for
free.
PS4 and PS5 though.
Yeah,
that
but they also
confirmed.
said it's being made with the PS5 in mind.
Yeah, but this one's already said that no, there is no PlayStation 4 version.
It has not said there's no PlayStation 4 version.
Okay, I will get back to you on that one then. Anyway.
It'll be interesting. It would be a bold move because, quite frankly, it would ostracize a huge audience for a Sony exclusive, and I don't know if that necessarily translates into a good business practice. But again, these big businesses don't always abide by best practices, even if it means flies in the face of profitability.
I get if it's just for PS5, cool. But when they say no, that it's only for PS5. That's when I will be like, oh, okay, it's only for PS5. It makes no sense.
Well, speaking of PS5,
but in other ways,
so let's just presume, for the time being, that okay, Miles Morales Spider-Man will be like the one eye-catching title for launch day for PS5, and let's just say that that's maybe not enough for everyone who definitely wants a PS5. As soon as possible to kind of like justify that purpose. So what you're left with is a nice box, and when you turn the box on, what you're going to see is a user interface. And if there's anything that these consoles have been trying to evolve, is their user interface and bridging the gap between what it makes sense in terms of like what the box can allow you to adjust in terms of game settings, optimization. Because again, consoles are not PCs. You don't have that same degree of malleability with performance, with fidelity, as you do with a PC. But a more advanced user interface could potentially deliver that in these consoles. So what would you guys expect of a PS5 or a Series X user interface to be better than whatever we've had before in previous console generations? Do you in fact expect better? How about that?
Yeah, I expect better. I expect all things. I mean, I expected a leap to be better. I know features will be missing in the beginning, because there's certain things that they don't like. They just won't include for a while. Most features that I probably won't use, but I know they won't be there. But there's things that I want. Like I want I keep seeing the patent for like picture-in-picture. Like that would be great for trophy hunting. I would have a blast with
That'd be cool.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. Or like, hey, I'm watching something like a YouTube video that's also, it doesn't have to be for trophies. I'm just watching a YouTube video and doing a mindless thing in a video game, like I'm playing Minecraft, and also there's a little YouTube video going. That'd be cool. I'd like that. I wouldn't mind. I don't know how that would work, but they always there's always patent leaking of Sony, but they patent literally everything, so that might not even happen. The trophy tracker, I've wanted that for Xbox got one. I'm very jealous of that.
Hmm.
I just want that so bad. Those are really the only two things that I want. I want it to be faster though. I want it to be fast. I want the store to not be as slow. I remember being on PS3 and that store was slow, and then we got PS4 and I was like, oh hell yeah! And now I'm like, and then I went back to PS3 and I was like, oh no, somehow it's worse. So,
Genesis, thoughts on UI?
For me, the UI, I think I need definitely. I'm gonna agree with Adam and go with speed. For right now, I think like especially if I'm playing COD or even Ghost now, the speed of bringing up that what do you call that? That's the quick menu, the quick UI, the quick XMB that they have now. That pops up on the side of the screen. That even takes forever to pop up now. I think I would actually want the ability to be able to, and I think they were talking about this earlier when the PlayStation 5 was originally being discussed. I think during Mark Cerny's thing, where they were saying that you can now put games into an actual rest or resume state, or like a pause state, like the PlayStation 4 was originally supposed to do, but that feature didn't end up being as fleshed out as people thought it was going to be. Like, I could, go ahead and activate one game, start playing that, and I'll say, okay, I want to keep in this spot. I didn't reach the save spot yet, and I want to go to a different spot in another game. Pause that game, start another game without closing the original game. I still have it open. At least 2 or 3 titles. Nothing crazy. I mean, I'm not playing 7 different games at once. Like 2 or 3 titles. Like if I'm playing Ghosts and I haven't had a chance to save yet, and Adam says, hey, let's go play Fall Guys. And I'm like, okay, sure. I put Ghosts on standby. It's still available in the background. I can go over to Fall Guys, play a match or 2 of that, and go right back to Ghost. Another feature I would want is better for overall. We're talking about just UI, not actual physical console itself, right?
Yeah, the UI. Yeah.
Yeah.
The operating system.
You know what the console looked like.
No. Because I was going to go into the whole thing of Bluetooth. Like, I want to be able to use better Bluetooth headsets. Because
they've already released information about that.
Did they go over like any Bluetooth headsets, or is it specific ones that are like either made by Sony?
Yeah, they talked about all peripherals and stuff.
Oh, okay. I didn't
that was Cerny all over. He was having a ball with that.
No, yeah,
Gotcha.
he talked about that, but also that thing where they confirmed like what things aren't going to work. Oh no, my PS4 controller won't work for my PS5 on PS5 games.
The other thing I would also want is the browser on the PlayStation consoles have always been very subpar. I would want definitely either an extension of Chrome browser on there, or something that Sony can build to put on there, just for being able to use it on my console. Like, let's say I want to look up something really quick. I don't really feel like pulling my phone out, although I know everybody's phone's next to them. I get that. I understand that. It's very convenient to have the phone next to you. But being able to even do like a split screen view, where I have one side that I'm following something, like I'm lost in the game, don't know what the hell to do. Pull up the guide right on the hand, right on the side, sort of like a picture-in-picture you were talking about earlier. But with an actual browser capability, where I could actually have like proper tab browsing, things work on there properly, and it doesn't take 17 years to open the browser back up, and it crashes every time you load 2 different tabs open. Just that's small little nitpicking.
So you guys are really, what you're telling me basically is like you're very, very focused on the performance angle of the UI, whereas for me, I'm much more interested in an organization and execution of the UI in terms of getting me to the adjustments I need to make in the most intuitive and expedient way. For instance, case in point, when we were setting up the business to getting this podcast up and running, there were a number of different kinds of menus I had to jump into regarding party settings, regarding broadcast settings, regarding audio settings, regarding blah, 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 in order to get all of our audio to output in the correct way during the streaming process. All of that needs to be organized in a much better way in terms of adjustments. All of your different settings, they need to be more intuitive, they need to be organized better. I feel like for a user interface for a console, I shouldn't have to jump into multiple different subcategories in order to get the specific adjustments I need for this one activity. I understand it's taking multiple functions into account based on like the party chat versus any audio from the game itself if we're doing a live stream within a game, which is again what makes crafting a chat unique. We're doing it live in the game. I understand that, but I feel like all of those kinds of settings need to be streamlined in a way that makes more sense, makes it a little bit more intuitive to the user to figure things out on their own without having to go jump down into the message board mosh pit or call Sony customer support and say, hey, this thing is not working, please help me figure it out. That all needs to be, I don't know, for me that would be the most important thing for a user interface. I feel performance, I hope it all is up to snuff when it comes up, but I think the very least that I could ask for is something that just makes a little bit more intuitive sense, and that's really the only thing that I ask for in a UI.
Yeah.
Example.
Yeah. I mean, I would want that too. Simplicity is always nice.
Mm-hmm. Simplicity on it is always actually very nice. I definitely want to see more bells and whistles being done, especially with the capabilities of the PS5.
Specifically in regards to streaming and broadcasting, and I hate the fact that well, we know there were other issues why they removed that whole Facebook link thing from PS4. But I will tell you this: I really enjoyed that part of the feature. Whenever I uploaded any kind of gameplay to YouTube, and also linking it to Facebook, because I have a lot of friends and family that are only interested in like Facebook in terms of like a social media situation. Those people are not necessarily in the YouTube crowd per se, but it was a nice thing to also help expand the web of your interaction with your virtual audience. And I would like to see more connections being made as opposed to those connections being severed. But who knows what the future of that's going to be, because Facebook doesn't like to play nice with other people. So
No, it doesn't feel like Facebook wants to do anything with other people.
I never really used the Facebook feature. I had friends tag me and stuff. I think you did once, but I don't know. I never used that too much. I never were like, hey, family and friends. My family and friends aren't like that. I mean, you guys kind of are, I guess. Except Genesis, you don't have a Facebook.
I don't have friends.
Yeah,
I got family.
I don't believe in Facebook. I don't want Facebook.
And then my family, they don't comment on anything I do. So.
Whether they comment or not, you're sending it out there. That was just
YouTube. Hey, if I want to show my family stuff, I'm getting them YouTube views. You know what I'm saying? Getting them clicks.
YouTube ad revenue.
Click rate. Yeah,
clicks and views.
I don't have ad revenue, but you get them clicks.
Hey, so
That's
now that we
about.
kind of find ourselves with a little bit of extra time here, we mentioned briefly earlier on in the podcast, we wanted to talk a little bit about the that Cyberpunk information that has been
Watch it.
coming
Tell
out.
me everything about it, and also Genesis, because he's very excited.
Well, Genesis is not excited. He's probably the only person that I know that is
I'm not excited.
least excited. No, he's definitely less excited for it than you.
Oh,
are.
I'm because I see it and I'm like, are you kidding me? I get to be in this beautiful world with transgender people? Hell yeah! Kidding me? Right? You don't want that, Genesis? No, the game. It looks cool.
Yeah,
it looks fun.
No, Genesis is gonna take a walk outside just to breathe in a bag. Try to keep that hyperventilation down. Yeah, he's going for a walk. So, anyway, Adam, it's the Adam and Giuseppe podcast now. We'll just go ahead and take it up. So one of the most recent things that they put out there for Cyberpunk that I found interesting was the whole the branching story path. Where you establish, I believe it's going to be part of the character creation process, where you get to choose whether you're a street kid, an outlander, vagabond, or a corpo kid. And
Okay.
I don't exactly know how it's going to impact the narrative of the character that you create. But it does seem to be a little bit more significant than, say, something like in Mass Effect, where you got to choose the origin of Shepard being either Earthborn, a spacer, or I forget what the other options were. But those things were basically absolutely irrelevant to, the character narrative. Whereas something like this, I believe it's actually literally going to start you out in those different geographies, as they relate to Night City itself. A Corpo Kid, you're going to be, I presume, going to be starting in an actual corporation dead center in the city. Street Kid, you're just going to be literally, in the urban jungle of the city, which is obviously the less than ideal place to be. And then the Vagabonds are going to be kind of like in the almost the Mad Max exterior perimeter outside the city. So it will be interesting to see how that impacts the narrative, but I have a feeling it's going to directly impact where your starting point, if not your first introductory missions, are going to be based on. I don't know for a fact, but it seems as though that's where it's heading. But that's a very interesting aspect to the RPG to me. And what are you doing? My goodness, he is just sneaking around me like Kevin Spacey trying to petition me for a special party. So
whoa, that escalated quick.
You go ahead and stay right in your seat there. Stay there. Stay in your seat. Stay in your seat. Anyway.
So is it worth watching that Night City Wire, you think?
Well, I haven't watched all of them, but I would say it's pretty informative. I mean, again, I was just really taken by the origin establishment story thing. That's a neat concept to the character creation RPG process. I wish more games would integrate that more.
Well, let's see how it is first before we start saying.
I think it's a good idea because it takes.
There's a lot of good ideas, but let's see if it works before we say let's other games take that idea as well.
Adding more options. Again, you're adding more options for player choice, and if your game is an RPG, then adding more player choice is never a bad thing.
Oh yeah, it is.
Okay, what's an example?
I don't have like a specific example, but is there really player choice? There's not just player choice in that, but
I meant the whole customization in the beginning.
It's pointless though.
Well, that's what I'm saying though. But it's definitely not pointless if you are in fact starting in different areas of the city that you would not normally have access to. If you, for instance, if you started out as a street kid, the game may or may not give you freedom to venture out beyond Night City to go do any kind of, pickup missions out there. I don't know how much freedom the game gives you at start. But let's presume that they have some kind of a level gating system where they don't literally have the entire world open up to you from the beginning. And thereby, if that's the case, then yeah, what your origin, whatever origin that you choose to start, is gonna immediately impact your gameplay in terms of like options and missions and where you can go and what you can do. That is an interesting thing to me.
Now?
Nope.
All right. Sounds like you're eating.
Nope.
Yeah, it sounds interesting. I'm curious to see how well it actually plays into the game, though. Like, is one going to be better to choose? Is one going to be way worse? Like, I maybe it's because I just don't know enough about it.
Well, better or worse that's all subjective too. It depends on the player. Like what the player wants, what the player, are they looking for challenge? If that's the case, then starting out with whatever origin that gets you the least amount of resources and perhaps the lesser amount of stats and perks and what have you, that would be the way to go. If you're looking for an easier time, maybe that's what comes from the Corpo Kid. Maybe you start off with more cash in your bank account. I don't know. The details of that are unknown to us at this point, but the potential. Again, because we don't know the details, but the potential of starting your character, your created character, at 3 different distinct geographies relevant to Night City, and thereby, dictating a distinct set of missions and introductory layouts into the narrative, that is very interesting to me. And I would love to see more games try to implement more elements of player choice that impact the narrative, that impact your gameplay in real, meaningful ways, as opposed to, lip service.
Hey, Giuseppe.
Yes.
One of the guys in the chat is actually saying that it's very similar to the Souls game and Bloodborne games, where basically you get to choose different classes, different beginning points. I don't think it's obviously the same as like starting on different geographical areas, but they're making comparisons with the Souls games and the Bloodborne games. What do you think about that?
So if it is, I mean, do we know that for a fact that that's what those mean?
So he's like the point that the thing that you're explaining right now with the different ways to start out for Cyberpunk, they're basically making a comparison to how you get to start out with different classes in like Bloodborne or Dark Souls or any of the Souls games.
So it's only pertains to starting stats, because that's all it is for Bloodborne.
Okay.
And that ultimately, like, again, like, that's really important for the Souls games, for players who are really interested in min-maxing to, pristine efficiency. You don't want to waste any kind of, levels. You want to get to your character to a specific level and make sure that they're absolutely optimized the way that you want them to. That means that your character origin is definitely vital in the min-max game. I hope it's more than that for Cyberpunk, because if it's just for your base stats, in almost any kind of RPG, the amount of cash you start off with, the amount of strength, intelligence, charisma, or what have you, whatever other kind of pertinent, vital characteristics to your character, those are things that are easily like overcome within maybe the first hour or two of gameplay. You can always get yourself along the track that you want to build the character the way that you want to in those types of games. I just hope it's more than just your stat bonus, because it doesn't make sense for your origin to be Corpo Kid and all you're going to be doing is just going to start running a whole bunch of street thug missions in Cyberpunk right off the bat. Like, it doesn't make that breaks the suspension of disbelief there. Like, it breaks the whole role-playing aspect of that game, because you chose that origin, but now why are you rummaging in the trash? I mean, that doesn't make like, I don't understand that. But I mean, I mean, again, it makes sense that your character would definitely have different vital stats tied to your origin in that game. It definitely, absolutely makes sense that it would. I just hope it's more than that.
Who's in the chat, by the way? Who said that? Who asked that?
That was Desunoto.
Well, that's a good point. I mean, I would love to know like confirmation as to all the details of that, because again, I love the concept of integrating an origin to your character prior to actually launching into a narrative, and hopefully that has an impact to the story in a real way. But again, those are just more hopes and dreams, and who knows what we're really going to get.
When you shout out the chat, say their name. Let's give them some recognition.
Yeah,
I would say the name afterwards. Yeah, once the answer, whoever that was geared towards, I'd say the name.
Why would you say the name afterwards? Why don't you say, hey, this question?
Right,
hey, I got a good question.
That was from.
Hey, Genesis, you need to tell all of our viewing audience why you hate Cyberpunk 2077. And go.
Hate is a strong word. I don't hate it.
But I really don't like you.
I really don't. I'm not interested in it, and I don't want it. I don't want it.
Fair.
I don't want it. It's just not my cup of tea. I've played, and again, I'm going to use the same stupid comparison, because the last time I said this, everybody looked at me like I had 7 different heads.
I've never looked at you in my entire life.
I appreciate that. Even though you're peering through my soul right now, every time you look at me and eat that little apple you have.
No one's looking at you. I'm looking at Giuseppe.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I don't like you guys blinking. I'm looking in the middle. I just don't like it.
Crafting a chat.
Thank you.
You don't actually blink, you know that? You're the only one that doesn't blink.
I'm a vampire. Please finish your thought. Do vampires blink? Why did I say that? That doesn't make sense, right?
It's okay. We'll go with vampires don't blink.
Sure.
Vampires don't have reflections. They don't have reflections. That's the thing.
Oh,
It has nothing to
yeah,
do with
Vampires
blinking.
also
if you don't
sparkle in the
reflect.
light.
Okay,
And
well,
hold on. And if they impregnate a human woman, they have a vampire child, and they also can possibly.
Genesis, you are so far off topic. I'm not even gonna lie.
We never even mentioned Giuseppe that we had a conversation about Twilight the other day before you hopped on. We had like a 30-minute conversation. But yes, get
Next
back to
time.
why you tune in next week's podcast.
Next week,
we're gonna
yes.
go over
We'll have
all
a
the-
special
all
segment
the
with Giuseppe and
Twilights.
Twilight.
We'll craft a
We're gonna talk
chat
about them.
about Twilight. We will. Special
And
guest star,
we'll-
my wife. She would love to talk all about it.
Oh, that'd be
Well,
great!
No lady allowed. This is boy room.
Okay.
She can sit in that chair over there. You'll give her an
All right.
avatar and everything. She'll sit in that chair right there.
All right,
Wonderful.
Genesis. No, never mind. Lady, go ahead.
What? Did you just call me a lady? Okay.
No, go ahead.
The only comparison I have, I guess, with this game is, I guess, Destiny. But I would always compare this to The Witcher because it's made by the same company. That's, in my head, the only thing that it can compare to because they're made by the same people. But I understand that as a very weird and unfair comparison because just because the same creator makes the two different games doesn't mean that you can compare to two different games. I think the best thing I compare this to is not Destiny. What was the game I said the other night? Maybe Fallout or something, like Fallout New Vegas or something.
Yeah, you said Fallout New Vegas.
Yeah, Fallout New Vegas. Because that is the only first-person shooter with a story attached to it that has consequences and meanings and has an RPG element in there. I don't know. For me, it just doesn't speak to me. I've watched a bunch of trailers. I've seen gameplay of it. I don't know. I mean, Keanu Reeves is in the game as well. Nothing.
Well, you're
Nothing
breathtaking.
really.
This isn't a Microsoft press conference. We don't. As much as we all like Keanu Reeves, praise Keanu Reeves.
Well, I'm sure. Listen, I'm sure for some
game. I'm sorry.
for some people that sells him on the
So
game.
Genesis-
Keanu Reeves is in the game.
Unless
and it's
Keanu is watching, then I'm going to buy the game because of Keanu. So Keanu, hit me up. You were in Constantine, which is a DC property. You know them.
So here's a follow-up question, Genesis. Have you any experience playing tabletop RPGs of any variety?
tabletop RPGs.
Like, for instance, like Dungeons and Dragons, like creating a character on a sheet and then going through...
Well,
have you ever played
No,
anything
but
like
I would love to give that a try. I actually would like if we did a Dungeons and Dragons thing for Crafting and Chat. That'd be cool.
I
Okay.
would never play that.
That is
All right.
a huge time commitment.
Especially with you.
I appreciate it. Okay.
I dislike you as a human. There's no way around it.
That's okay. I understand. I mean,
I can only
listen.
tolerate you for an hour and 37 minutes.
That's which happens to be our current time count. But again, following up, the reason I asked you that because Cyberpunk is the origin of that is created by Mike Pondsmith, and that was started as a tabletop RPG in the style of Dungeons and Dragons, and this game is an extension of that narrative, which is why Mike Pondsmith has been apparently intricately involved in the development of this game.
See, I did not know that, and I don't play
didn't know
those
that
types of games. And that you making that comparison reminded me of his comparison to The Witcher 3, where I do not see that at all.
What do you mean?
Like when he brings up, this reminds me of The Witcher 3, and we go, what? Is he stupid? That's what I thought of when you were explaining.
The reason I bring that up is
Fallout,
because
same thing.
yeah, but I mean I'm feeling that there's going to be a little bit more deeper element of role playing involved to the character creation and development process of the game, and I think that's the one thing that is hopefully going to cause it to stand out from anything that comes out of Bethesda in terms of Skyrim and Fallout and what have you, which is the only real competitors in that field. I mean, they're they're big boys on the block when it comes to that. And this is CD Projekt's first attempt at that style of game. So it'll be interesting to see what they can deliver. Oh, in terms of gameplay, I don't exactly know, but I can't imagine this being a shorter game.
It's a very beautiful game. My concern is how well it's going to run on the PlayStation 4.
It'll be fine.
Well,
I don't know about that.
You say that.
Well,
I don't know either.
Well,
they've delayed it a bunch.
They have delayed it a bunch, and what hasn't been delayed this year?
But they've also delayed it to about the time where new consoles are coming out.
Yes,
so
which would make
if
you'll get the optimal experience on. It sounds like you'll get the optimal experience on the newer gen consoles,
which any software would try to sell you on as well. But this is the thing. I mean, options are limited for me. And again, I'm talking about this strictly from my own personal perspective. As it pertains to things right now, I don't foresee myself ever having enough disposable income before this year's end to invest in either of the new consoles, and I'm going to be happy if I can get a new game this fall to enjoy myself with outside of PSP. And I have a very strong feeling that it may not be as optimally it's not going to be optimized, as well as it will function on a PS5 or any next-gen console. But I'm sure it's going to be fine enough based on the footage of gameplay that they have released so far. Again, I don't know if they were all 100% sourced off of either PS5 hardware or PS4 hardware, whenever it is that they put out any of those gameplay footage. But from what I saw there, they showed gameplay that was dynamic and it ran. I don't know if there were huge frame rate drops, but again, drops in frame rate, that's what I expect these days. I don't expect anything.
Nintendo Switch.
Well, but that's the thing. I just don't expect optimal execution.
Yeah, I don't need it to be perfect. I'm just curious as to have they announced how big the world? The game is very pretty. I think we can all admit that the game is a beautiful looking game. Like the graphic fidelity. Oh, I guess not. I guess we can't all admit that. Genesis, what are you doing? Come back.
I don't understand the protocol of just simply getting up and leaving. And
he's rude. He's a rude guy. What do you expect? Hey, be happy. I called you a guy this time. But you don't think that game is pretty? Hold on a moment.
It's pretty. When I compare it to something like Ghost or The Last of Us, it doesn't look that impressive compared to that.
What
it looks fine. It looks good. It looks just as good as those.
You just said you wouldn't compare them, and then you just said it looks just as good. I'm confused by your thought process.
So, okay, what I mean is that it's a very pretty game. Okay, it looks really good, but if I'm comparing it to those, just graphically wise, it looks on par to those two. That game, I would. This is if they wanted to unleash the full capability of that game, make it look the best it could possibly look on the next gen consoles, not on the current gen.
Well, first of all, if you want that game to look as good as it can be, it's not going to happen on a console. It's only going to be happening on an optimized gaming PC. That's the only way that's going to happen. Consoles is just not going to happen in any regard. You'll always find it looking, running, and executing.
Not necessarily.
I would say you're always going to find it looking better.
99% of the time, yes. But there's a reason why consoles still exist, is because they eventually get super easy to make games for.
Sure.
I'm sure there are games on PS5 or PS4 or PS3 that at the time were probably at one point the best looking game. Even things that came out on PC. Don't get me wrong, PC has the advantages of being able to literally update anything, but at the same time, to invest into something like that on PC is not as easy as it is on console. If you know what I mean.
No, I know what you mean. Yeah.
But 99% of the time, yeah, you can buy a PC, bruh. But
yeah, if that's what you want.
you keep saying that if you had to compare it, you're saying it's on par with the other two, but you're saying it like it's a bad thing that it's on par with Ghost and Last of Us 2.
Yeah, both of which are highly regarded, or
yeah, and I know you think it's
games.
highly regarded. I don't understand. Like, do you think it should look way better than those?
Maybe. Yeah.
What?
Maybe.
Why?
I don't know.
All right.
I don't know. I just don't know. I just think it should look a little better.
Props
Sometimes
to you
I don't have an
for
answer.
Sometimes props to you for just being like, hey man, I don't know. You know,
well, if you don't
instead
know,
of just coming up with something and being like, it should look better because it came out 4 months after or whatever. But props to you for being.
I don't know. I don't know. It's hyping up to be one of the biggest releases this year, and it's going to be the
highly anticipated since reveal.
Game of the year for 2020.
I think you're too negative on it because of the perception on it, because of how hyped it is, and you just don't see anything for you. I think you're too negative. But I also think Giuseppe is way too positive about it. Because he was like, if it runs like garbage, it's alright. I expect it to run like garbage.
I didn't say I expected it. I didn't say that.
If it's
broken,
it'll be fine.
I said it'll be fine, and I don't expect it to be as broken as like a Bethesda title. If it is, I'll have big time problems with it. But I don't expect that out of CD Projekt Red. Because they have not shown that in their previous development. They haven't shown broken development.
Did they do the port for Witcher 3 on Switch or no?
They did.
Interesting. Didn't that have issues when it launched?
That doesn't even play well.
Yeah. So
it also...
Didn't Witcher 3 have a bunch of technical issues when it launched?
When it first came out, there were a couple of game-breaking bugs where certain quests would break your game and you'd have to restart.
I didn't run. But I personally didn't run into that.
Yeah. But my thing is just like it's late into the console's life cycle. I'm not saying like get a PS5. No, this game was made for PS4 and Xbox One X and all that. Like. I'm just curious. It still blows my mind that I don't know how the hell this thing's going to run on a regular PS4, let alone a Pro, because of how beautiful it is. And if it's really as large and as in the scope as everyone thinks it is, I don't understand how it's going to run. But I also don't understand the load times of Ghost of Tsushima.
I don't understand that either.
I'm sitting here welcoming a surprise, but I'm curious as to how...
I would be very happy if the game turned out to be a perfect 10. Great. I'd be happy if that turns out to be that way. If it turns out to be anything less than a 9, I don't know what people are going to do with the way that this game is being hyped up.
That's a conversation. That's a conversation we should save, because I feel like we could talk about, like, just saying 10 or a 9. It doesn't really mean anything. But like, we should save this about, like, there are some games where, like, they can't review poorly unless they're completely broken. There are just some games that come out that just won't review bad unless there's something seriously wrong with them. And then there's some games that come out that, some of them don't do great in reviews.
They're all... The latest one is a piece of trash, and it's still reviewed very well.
Well, you know what? Like, they won't give good scores to, like, the Fast and Furious game. You see that, guys? That game come out? You guys want a co-op game? I hear nobody is playing it in the launch weekend, and it took like 10 minutes to like match up. So, but with Cyberpunk, I'm curious. It hasn't sold me 100%, and I don't care about all the hype about it because I don't know why everyone's so excited for it. I like the way you describe it. I get a couple things, but I'm not like, oh my god, I need this. I want it to be good, and I'm excited to see more of it. I really got to watch that Night City Wire thing.
There are elements of Cyberpunk. Again, I'm not also the number one fanboy on this. I'm not as hyped about Cyberpunk the way that I was originally for Watch Dogs. Like Watch Dogs, I was so on board with that being such a game-changing game, and I bought into that hype, hook, line, and sinker. I'll admit it, absolute big mistake on my part. And when the game came out, I was like, okay, this is just like, discount Grand Theft Auto. Okay, and that was not.
Saints Row?
That's not what I. Yeah.
I would call it discount Saints Row.
Discount Saints Row. Then that was not what I was expecting based on those trailers and based on that hype. I'm not on that same degree with Cyberpunk because there are some things that I don't like, choices about that game that I don't like at all. For instance, I don't like the fact that it's strictly a first-person perspective. I don't like FPSs in general. I like the ability in the Fallout games to shift between first person and third person so that you have a better sense of scale, how your character relates to the rest of the environment, especially if there's any element of platforming that's going to be involved in the game. And we know from Cyberpunk that there will be a significant verticality element to that game. It depends on how precise your positioning needs to be to make sure that you don't just fall off the ledge of a building if they ever plan on having you go that high in terms of altitude. And not only that, when you remove the third-person perspective from these kind of very character-driven games, and an RPG is character-driven first and foremost, you lose that kind of connection when you don't see your character as often as you need to, because you don't see any of the alterations to your costume, the gear that you carry. You lose a little bit of the identification that goes on from a first-person perspective. I understand the developers are going for the whole, well, it's not about the character, you are the character. So it's the kind of like a VR-ish kind of experience they're trying to push there, and I totally understand that. However, not all role players play the role in terms of putting themselves into that character. Some players play the role as a character they create for that scenario. So, and that's the way I would personally, look at Cyberpunk. That's the way that I would be playing it as. I wouldn't be playing myself in Cyberpunk. I would be playing a specific avatar in my mind that's set in this story, choosing those origins, choosing this decision path set in order to get to the end, whatever that ending is, whatever the challenges are. And then, but again, these are just my hopes for the game. We won't know for sure until we actually get the game in hand and see what the actual ambition behind it really was, and regardless of how expansive or limited that ambition was in the first place.
It still shocks me that people play Fallout in third person. Still shocks me.
I think I played Fallout in third person for a little bit. I switch between the two.
I love seeing the power armor, wearing the power armor. I love seeing that. Effect.
I go to third person every so often to look at the stuff I'm in, but that game, oh god, I'll never understand it.
I primarily played those games in third person.
He agrees with your opinion. Desunoto did about Watch Dogs. Another one of the because him and I can both join that club for hook, line, and sinker for Watch Dogs. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was not much hooked.
I'm with you. What was his name again? Desunoto. My heart goes out to you, my man. I'm not gonna lie. There are a couple other games that also, nabbed me and did me dirty.
Maybe next week talk about those.
Yeah, we could talk about those. Yeah, we could. You know what? Next week, everyone out there, we're gonna start talking about the games that broke our hearts the most.
Yeah, Desunoto, come back.
Come on back.
What broke
we'll
your
talk
heart?
about which games broke our hearts the most.
Oh, God.
I got one. Kingdom Hearts 3.
We have a list. We have a list.
I'm gonna take you and throw you in the
There
garbage.
are so many games.
Where I belong.
So many games that broke our hearts.
Yeah, because I was not as much hooked into I almost said The Witcher. Witcher Dogs. That was wrong.
Witcher Dogs.
But I was,
That's a new
I
idea.
played that. I was not as much hooked into Watch Dogs. I was, as everybody else, I was blown away with the gameplay stuff. But also at the same time, like when it first came out, I was like, oh, that looks cool. And then it started like as the years went by before we saw it again, it was like,
And the years
all right,
went by.
what's going on? As the years go by. Oh damn, there's our copyright strike.
Oh damn.
Yeah, no, that game, yeah, that's. I was not as hooked. I really can't think of a game that I was hooked. I got a week, so.
You do. Start your clocks. So, all right, gentlemen, do you have any kind of closing thoughts for this evening's Crafting a Chat?
In summation, the Avengers beta is meh. Give it a try though. Pre-order, cancel your pre-order. Give it a try. What else did we talk about?
Square Enix, you're watching this. We'll do something. We'll work with you if you want to help us out there.
Apple, good luck. Good luck in your fight. I mean, not Apple. Epic. Epic, good luck. Good luck in your fight. Consumers, sorry, we're probably going to be screwed over with that.
Apple, I hope you die.
343 Industries, keep working. Sorry about Halo, Xbox. I don't think you care.
Give Craig a mustache.
I know you're sad.
Give Craig a mustache and a beard. I'm sure it'll sell well.
Give Craig a goatee. Craig is like an established gentleman, you know. Give him like that milady fedora thing. You know what I'm talking about?
My lady, can I hold the door for you while you shoot?
Come on. Like that one meme with that guy who played Pugsley, I believe, in Addams Family. That's who that guy is.
That's who that guy is. All right.
Yeah, that's who that guy is. Yeah, he's a nice guy. He wasn't a fan of that photo for the longest time, but he's embraced it now.
Gotcha.
The internet forced him to.
Right.
Yeah, Cyberpunk. I'm excited. Not like I'm like, ooh. I'm not really ever excited for anything.
Now we change that name to Infamous 3, then he'd be like,
We'll get into that next week as well. What's the hype? Where's the hype? Where's the hype games? Where's them hype games for you? Yeah, where's them hype games that you just direct straight into your bloodstream and you die of an overdose of fight?
Mm-hmm. Love it.
Oh, we can't say die, guys. Never mind. Die like DYE, like colors.
Yes, color dye.
You inject
Turn
your
blue
veins,
or something. Yeah. That's my summation of the podcast. What about
Genesis? Any final thoughts?
Avengers could have been better. Miles Morales is only PlayStation 5. What else? Microsoft, good luck to everything. I mean, I don't know what you got on Xbox anymore now, but good luck to what you're gonna have this fall.
They got man, why you even ask me that?
Oh, what's that game? The one with the samurai and then the space station. Resident Evil 8.
Resident Evil 8. The Mighty Keith is what we're referencing. Go check that guy out on YouTube.
Yes, he's a real cool guy. Go check him out.
Don't shake your head no. He's a funny guy, all right?
No, I'm shaking my head at Resident Evil 8. Let's just get off that. Just get off it. Just get off it.
I'm not supposed to mention that.
Just get off it.
I'm sorry.
Just get off
it. That Halo Infinite though.
Just get off it.
Yeah, definitely, guys. Tune in next week again. We are the Crafting a Chat. Our Twitch.
What about Giuseppe and your final thoughts, guys? I forgot. I gotta look up Squad before next week.
No,
anyway,
you look
Giuseppe.
up Quad, not Squad.
No, Squad. I gotta see if Quad came from Squad or Squad came from Quad.
Quad is 4. Quad means 4.
Yeah,
who's
but
on
Squad
first?
Means 6 to 10. Anyways, Giuseppe, what are your final thoughts about today?
My final thoughts are: games are supposed to be fun, so enjoy your games with friends or by yourself. But also keep your emotions and tempers in check. You know, the internet is a wonderful place, but it's also a horrible place.
Me?
And I would just say in general, everyone out there, take care of yourselves in these uncertain and, you know, somewhat dangerous times. Look out for your friends, look out for your family, try to keeping in connections, and just be good, because being bad might be good in the moment, but you know, you wind up paying for it in the long run. So just be good. Don't be a dick.
I don't know.
I'm just saying, it's a pro tip. You don't have to follow it.
I've been playing Fall Guys. I was bullying kids hardcore in that game.
Well,
so, bullying, I approve.
I don't.
Remain on the internet forever. No, bullying's bad, guys. Bullying's bad. No, this is this is that face thing that people do. This is not my real voice. This is Genesis talking for me. Oh no.
Oh yeah. Oh God. Oh yeah.
Got me. All right, Giuseppe, bring us home.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of official episode 2 for Crafting a Chat.
Woo!
Right here with your pals, Genesis, Adam, and Giuseppe Jones. Signing off for this evening. I hope you all have a great day, great weekend, and we'll see you next week for Crafting a Chat.
Twitch.tv/miners and hosts, guys. Bye-bye.
Weird.